Welcome back to the Leverage Lounge. Today, we're joined by Gil Ramos. All right, Gil, welcome to the Leverage Lounge. How's it going?
Yeah, let's go. Dude, thanks for inviting me on to Leverage Podcast. You're an awesome speaker. So I'm looking forward to this jam session with you.
Yeah, me too. Now, you own and manage multiple teams. Your team span across like real estate, mortgage, and so many other things. I mean, you're an investor. So let's talk about that. How did you decide to begin leveraging a real estate team as well as a mortgage team while you're also investing? How does that all play together?
When you start really thinking about it, you start really focusing on what your goal is. And then what's in alignment with the goal matters, and what is not in alignment with the goal doesn't matter. My goal is to, obviously at the very beginning, keep the lights on, feed the family, whole like that. But then I started going into, okay, once I achieve that goal, what's the next goal? And then what's the next goal? What's the next goal? And you start thinking about legacy. And you start talking about time freedom.
So I want to back up. Before the brand, for the team, who was Gil Ramos as an agent?
I've gone through a lot of iterations of who Gil Ramos was. It's funny because my son once told me, that's easy for you to say you're Gil Ramos. I'm like, what do you even think that means? And early in my brand was, I'm going to outwork everybody. I'm just going to answer my phone as much as possible. I'm always going to be available. And my brand was Gil Can Help. It is kind of funny to say now, but I had this cool website because nobody had websites back in the day. My website was called Gil Can Help. That was it. And I had plumbers on there and things of that nature. And I had like my favorite contractors and my favorite restaurants. And I would just put it on there. And I was like, dude, whatever you need, doesn't even matter if it's in the real estate industry, I'm your guy. I was the guy you had to know to get what you wanted. You wanted to find out what the best pizza. I was that guy. I was just that guy. I always answer my phone. I'm going to show up at your house. I'm that guy. I'm going out to work somewhere. And then I remember going downtown and there was this, I hope this guy's still in business, but there was this attorney advertising he was the 24-hour attorney. And I remember saying to myself, I don't want to be that guy. And then I thought to myself, oh, I'm that guy. And I was like, oh, okay, I need to fix something. I couldn't see it in myself, but I saw it in that guy who was advertising as a 24-hour attorney, and myself like, who's answering the phone 24 hours? Then I realized he had some systems and he wasn't really answering the phone, but it was that startling understanding that this guy was giving away his whole life. And if he's giving away his whole life, what do you have left? So then I was like, okay, well, how do I fix that problem? How do I make myself less accessible? Which was really kind of the first part of that, and make other parts accessible. I called the 24-hour hotline he had, and it was some lady answering the phone, who, by the way, he said he wasn't available. That's why she was answering the phone.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I started thinking that way. It's like, well, I need to make myself unavailable, but I need to make myself available to anybody and everybody. So I started building landing pages and just text lines and stuff like that, but I didn't have to be the so-called answering service. That was the first iteration change. So I went from that guy who did everything to the guy who decided I didn't want to do anything. And it was a funny joke. I told my wife one day, I was like, you know what my goal is? My goal is to do nothing, but get paid like I'm doing everything. And it was a funny joke because she argued with me. My wife's an attorney, so she has to argue with me about everything.
Of course.
And we almost have like warfare energy towards like trying to solve a problem. But I love her like all passion. We don't argue to like hurt each other. We argue just because we're just intellectual nerds.
Yeah,
really
challenge each other.
But she was like, you can't get paid to do nothing. There's something you must do. I tried to prove her wrong, but she was right. The truth was like, you still have to do something.
Yeah.
You can't get paid to do nothing. I couldn't figure out a way to get paid to do nothing, but I figured I could do less and get paid more. And when I figured that part out, that was the next stage. You see, it was always just like one more level. I had to solve every single one of those. I want to solve that.
Yeah.
I want to solve that. And I want to solve it forever. I don't want to solve it temporarily. I want to solve it with a system, because once I have a system, it's solved forever in my mindset.
We're talking a lot about systems. What's the early mistake that taught you the importance of systems?
I had a client who I called them back as to why they didn't hire me. And it was basically because I missed their call, which was freaking crazy because I answered this call like all the time. And then one day he went to an open house and I didn't answer my call and he hired somebody else. And I thought I had so much invested in that relation that was impossible, that he could go to somebody else. Would have been one of the bigger deals I could have done. So I was really investing in this guy for a long time. I ended up doing business with him later on, but it was a valuable lesson. Like when somebody needs me, they need to at least feel like I'm always there, even if I'm not.
What was the first inflection point where you realized production alone wasn't enough?
So sometimes leveraging money wasn't making more money, it was just using the money we had smarter. So growing up, I believed one thing: hard work did not equal freedom. What I realized was hard work and the right things equaled freedom. So I had to really figure out, where do I put my hard work and where do I leverage everybody else's hard work so I can get the freedom that I wanted? And that was hard for me to understand, because at the beginning I wanted to do everything. I was a control freak. It was always about, like, how can we be more efficient as a family? What skills do we have? What can we do together? What can we do to continue to move to the next level? And we didn't have it all figured out. And we bumped into a lot of mistakes along the way. I can guarantee you that. But I can tell you, it's like, you have to believe something you're not willing to believe right now, is that you were meant for greatness in a level that doesn't require you to understand how you get there. And that was a blind faith that everyone must have. I don't need to know how I'm going to get there. I just need to know that I was intended to get there, and that if I just do the right things, the results will come. And in that evolution of an entrepreneur has to be the genesis of faith, because if you look at every skyscraper in New York City, I always say this all the time, every one of them was built on faith. Not one of them was built on dollars or sweat equity or anything. Somebody had to have the courage to say, I'm going to build this building right here and this spot right here, and we're going to figure out the rest of it.
And it's going to work.
And it's going to work. It's going to work. And you know what? And it may not. And you have to be willing and accepting that not every idea works out. Some people build skyscrapers on I-4 and they don't get finished. Right?
Yeah, and it just sits as an eyesore for many years.
But maybe that wasn't their end all be all. Maybe there's something else. I mean, like, how many people figure things out after they're 50, 60, 70 years old because they didn't have enough skills? If I would have read books when I was 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and not started reading books when I was 40, I would have figured things out way earlier. So the only way you get skills is by examining everybody else's skills, by reading books, going on these podcasts, and learning for what somebody else went through. So when you read these books and you're reading through people's chapters in their life and you start skimming through those chapters, you're actually taking their life experience inside you and you speed up time. That's where you can kind of just dump into that quadrant of skill. I'm going to get more skills. I'm going to get more skills. But I only used to get skills by hard work. Doesn't work. If you're only going to get skills by you spending your time doing it, it's not going to work out. You got to have somebody there who's done it before, somebody who's actually can say, okay, let's just move past this spot. I used to say that. Let's say this instead.
When did belief begin influencing how you led your business?
I think part of it was you start leveraging other people's stories. You see, that guy's doing it, so it must be possible. And then you start adopting some of their beliefs, and they're not yours yet. And it sounds arrogant to say, but everyone should be thinking of this, because there are no extraordinary people. There are people who are super smart like Elon Musk, but like in the realm of things, there's nothing extraordinary. There's only one thing that's extraordinary, and it doesn't walk the earth. Like, I look at that person can do it, I can do it. I got to figure something new. But I can tell you, it happened many times where I felt like